Dratnos, I see people farming rares every day. Whenever I'm watching my favorite Twitch streamer, twitch.tv/Dratnos, I see him farming rares and getting 378 item level loot. For some reason, whenever I'm farming rares, I only get 340 item level loot. What is the reasoning?
Are you leaving that in there so that you can just splice in whatever item level it actually is? If we need to change
absolutely
it
not. That is the correct loot. That's just the average Twitch chatter.
I see, yeah. So that question and a couple others we're going to answer in this video. We're going to talk about just kind of the easiest sources of gear you can get in these first couple of weeks.
Yeah.
A little caveat here. None of this is going to matter in a couple of weeks' time. Ultimately, at the end of the day, whether you're ending on December 12th, whether you are 380 or 360, not going to matter. Not a big deal. It's only going to matter for like the first few days of the M+ and the raid. So if you want to instead be doing like professions or exploring the world, doing all the cool stuff there, leveling alts, any of that kind of stuff, like all of that is totally fine. You're not falling hugely behind. That being said, there are a couple of good sources of gear.
Yeah, I agree. But additionally, here's the big deal. None of this stuff is like normal item level loot, realistically. Most of it's below normal item level, and you can do 10s to 13s to get normal item level loot once the raid and Mythic Plus unlock. 10s. It's like
right.
So if you can do 10s, yes, this is
it's good. Like it'll make it easier for that first couple of days to be coming in with the highest item level possible, but
yes,
it's not a big deal. Like that, you will quickly outgrow all of the stuff in this video.
I quickly want to preface this that this is not required by any means, because this may be not long, but like this may be a lot of random information, but it's not super pertinent.
Yeah. Now, that being said, there is, I think this one is a reasonably good source of gear if you're able to do it. It's they've nerfed the amount of time it takes to grind this. This is the Cobalt Assembly 389 ring.
Yes.
It takes now, I would estimate about 90 minutes for players that aren't in like if you're in a good 5 stack in an uncontested shard, you can do it faster than that. But I would say if you're doing this with like 1 to 3 people and there's maybe one other group killing the mobs in the Cobalt Assembly area, 90 minutes is maybe a reasonable estimate for how long this is going to take you. You just go to that zone, the Cobalt Assembly part of the Azure span. You kill mobs. You have to loot the mobs to get the rep from them.
Yes.
And make sure that you're also picking good Cobalt Assembly powers so that you can kind of become overpowered, kill everything really quickly. You lose them all if you die as well, so do be careful there. And then you can buy yourself a 389 ring once you reach high, which is the 4th out of 5 reputations with Cobalt Assembly. It doesn't show up on the Quartermaster until then, I don't think.
I heard the rumor they may have changed it. Not 100% sure.
Okay,
it may still not.
It was like that, yeah.
There's also a way that you can increase your reputation gains with Cobalt Assembly. There is like a tree, and one of them is you gain a little bit more reputation from looting Cobalt Assembly.
Yeah, you need to like get to rank 2, and then you can, or maybe even just rank 1, just finish the quest, and then you can buff your rep gains by 30%, which you should do. It's right next to the Quartermaster. There's a little research tree. So yeah, do that.
I do think that maybe we got a little bit ahead of ourselves as well. This 389 ring is super easy, but in addition to that, why you want to go for this 389 ring first is because gearing works really, really weird on this patch. It's very funky. A lot of it, a lot of the quality rewards and stuff like that we're going to talk about in a little bit are based on in-bag item level, and like for some pieces, it's based off item level that you already have predetermined in that slot. Additionally, there's some weird profession stuff that seems like it's giving bonuses to item level, correct?
Right. So there's all these sources of gear that scale off of your in-bag item level, but your in-bag item level is being inflated by something. It seems like it might be by having profession equipment equipped, but I've seen different reports from different people about how they have their like why they think their item level is inflated. Either way, it means that you might not actually have to be like 380, right? You might be 350, but your bags say 380. And that means that world quests, aiding the Accord chest, these other sources we're going to talk about will give you a higher item level reward. But the Cobalt Assembly ring, crucially, is just hard locked to 389. So it's one of the things that it makes sense to do early, because then it will raise your item level, right? Before you then start turning in the rewards that scale with item level.
Okay, so again, talking about some of the stuff that doesn't scale with item level, then I think it's probably in your best interest to go do heroic dungeons, get PvP gear, and then you want to do some world quests, at least in my opinion, to get some item level. I guess technically you wouldn't necessarily want to do the world quest because they also do scale, but it seems like they don't scale like as high as some of the other gear sources. And so I think that like doing at least heroic dungeons and PvP gear from the bloody coins is the two easiest things. And then like world quests, I think that you can do them because they do also cycle pretty fast.
Yeah, world quests reset bi-weekly, which means as the time of this video coming out, you probably are just over the first bi-weekly reset. I guess we're recording it just before the first bi-weekly reset of the And there's also some world quests that are daily as well, like War Mode daily, or War Mode world quests are, I think, daily rather than weekly, as are pet battle ones, but those don't give gear, I think.
Yet.
Yeah, yet, until they get pet battle equipment. But yeah, so in theory, it's maybe worth delaying those as well to bump up the item level from these other sources, but in practice, they're a nice, easy source of gear that will make stuff like Mythic Zero dungeons easier. Have we talked about the PvP, the War Mode gear, though, like you were talking about? Because I do think that's a really good source of early gear.
I did mention it was bloody coins, but basically how it works is there are some PvP world quests that award a decent amount of bloody coins. In addition to that, just like general world quests, killing people also awards.
The War Supply Crate is the big one as well.
Yes.
War Supply Crates drop fairly frequently in the zones, and the first one of those you loot each day is going to give you 200 bloody coins if you're in War Mode. They only drop if you're in War Mode, and you can only see the War Mode world quests if you're in War Mode. But if you do these things, you can get pretty easily a few hundred bloody coins per day. And then if there's a world quest that rewards, I've had a world quest that rewarded 500 bloody coins for me. And you can buy yourself this 366 War Mode gear that is quite good, and it has a set bonus on it that is a versatility amp at the 2 set, but like 105 extra verse at a 2 set. So getting at least 2 of these pieces, getting that 2 set enabled, that's absolutely a great way to get some early gear, and you can buy it in whichever slot your lowest item level in and dramatically raise your item level that way.
Some of the pieces are like 500 bloody coins. Some of the low slot budget pieces are like 200. Yeah, so you can actually get. I was wearing 3 pieces of PvP gear for a little bit. Obviously I took that off at some point, but like I do think it's pretty reasonable if you're looking for the War Mode crates, if you're doing the PvP world quests every single day, you get 2 or 3 pieces in like 1 or 2 days.
Yeah, and you know, the math on the 2 set having the 105 verse, it's worth dropping item levels on like bracers and cloak, I think, to keep that at least until we can start looting like 380s and 390s.
Okay, next thing I think you should do is M0s. I think that like it's pretty consistent 372 gear. I think if you can, obviously not every guild is the same, not every group is the same. If you run with a 5 stack of your armor type with people who are kind of willing to shuffle gear around that's maybe a little bit less optimal for them or whatever, kind of get you some gear, and you kind of give them gear in return if you get like duplicates, that's pretty good. Like doing your M0s next, I think, is the most reliable way of getting gear, and that's going to allow you to go from like this 350 to 355 item level bracket to like getting close to like 365, 370 item level bracket. And that is one of the most crucial points. Once you start to get that 370 item level ish, then you start to get some fairly good gear.
Yeah, again, that's bag item level as well. So you don't actually need that good gear. Actually, it just needs to say it in your bags. Yeah.
In addition to that, I think after you do your M0s, you can get Titan Training Matrix 4s, which is like an item that you can loot off of like an end boss and an M0. And what this allows you to do is, depending on the quality of your craft, it allows you to work order or craft a piece of gear that is, I think, upwards of 378 item level, which again...
crucially, without a Spark of Ingenuity.
Yes.
Because you can make that item level gear with a Spark of Ingenuity pretty easy, but you don't want to because you want to save... You want to save your Sparks of Ingenuity for your Mythic and Heroic eye-level raid pieces that you can make. Now, if you do end up making one early, you can recraft it later, but then you lose the flexibility of which slot it's in. So that's the reason to delay on that one.
So I would recommend just like crafting a piece of gear in your lowest item level slot, realistically, and just use that Titan Training Matrix 4. There's no real reason to hold on to it long term.
Yeah. Then after that, are we starting to get the weekly events and stuff? Yes. Siege of Dragonbane Keep, which is unlocked. You do need to unlock this through getting to, I believe it is Renown 5 with the Valdrakken Accord. So if you don't see this yet, that's why. But once you get Renown 5 with Valdrakken Accord, you should both get a quest to do this. But also then it'll be an event that's up you can do every week for rewards in just south of the Obsidian Citadel in Waking Shore. And the chest that it drops at the end isn't guaranteed, but it can drop an item. And if it does drop an item, it will scale with your bag item level. And so it can be quite high.
Community Feast also for cash is kind of similar to Dragonbane Keep. Does Community Feast have guarantee on loot or no?
I'm also not sure there. I know that the community feast, I think you get some extra stuff as well if you can get the soup to legendary. I don't know if it's just like extra rep and stuff, but
Okay.
yeah,
So,
that's
but
another similar thing. And then there's the Maruk hunts as well. The first hunt of the week is a purple. The way that the Maruk hunt works is the first one that you do each week will get you a purple spoils, and then the second will get you a blue, and the third will get you a green. And the blue and the green, I think, are not super. I don't think they can have loot, or if they can, it's lower item level. But the purple one can get you a good piece of gear.
But this is like what you should do next is like the Siege of Dragon Main Keith community face, that kind of thing, because again,
Yeah.
it scales with your bag item level. You've already done your M0s. You're not getting like a massive influx of gear in a lot of slots realistically anymore.
Yeah. Now, if you do need to do if you need to do this before you do M0s, something that's also fine. Like sequencing these and the world quest on either side of the M0s. Not a big deal either way. In theory, it's better to do them all after the M0s. In practice, you may have your time now, and you also may want to make your M0s easier, in which case,
Okay.
That might make sense.
Then next, it's the Trial of Elements and Trial of Flood events, which I feel like basically are not very telegraphed super well to the general player base because they don't really show up on your map. How these two events work is there's like a chest in the Anaran Plains, and there's a chest in the Chromie Time scenario event where you were questing, and you go and click the chest. It summons like a couple of waves of ads that spawn. And then eventually, after you kill a couple waves of ads, you loot the chest. You get a guaranteed loot drop for your class, which is important because some of the gear that we're going to talk about in a little bit is not guaranteed for your class. This gets a guaranteed item level drop for your class. I got like a 279 drop. I've heard reports of people getting upwards of 285 gear from this. And so you want your bag item level to be as high as possible before doing Trial of Flood and Trial of Elements if you were trying to min-max this.
Yeah. The Trial of Elements, you need to go through the portal in the bottom right area of Valdrakken that you used to get through the quest. And that means that you need to have done the Valdrakken quest line on any character that wants to get to this as well, or at least gotten that far in that quest line. So if you're doing this on alts, then that is something to it is valuable on your alts. If you have to level them, if you're leveling still, the Valdrakken zone quest line is the most valuable one to do because it will unlock for you this Trial of Elements, and because it will unlock for you the Spark of Ingenuity quest at the end, which is hopefully something that will change. But as of right now, you need to have done the Valdrakken zone quest line, it seems, to get your Spark. Some people were saying that you have to do the Waking Shore one to get the Obsidian Citadel, but you actually don't. There's a dragon there that will like time jump you forward if you want to do the Rathian and Sibelian stuff, and you don't have to do the Waking Shore quest line.
Okay, after the Trial of Elements and Trial of Flood, then you turn and you're raiding the Accord quest. I know, like, a lot of people turn this in early because I was also not aware that it dropped loot that scaled off of my in-bag item level, so I kind of just turned it in rather quickly once I hit 4,000 reputation. I think it happened to a lot of people. You would ideally like to hold this as long as possible because, again, this also scales within bag item level. I've seen people get upwards of 385 gear. I don't think I've seen too much higher item level gear than 385 drop from the Aiding the Accord quest. Have you?
I think that this might have been the source of the 402s from the people that I've heard there were even some bans going out for the people that were able to like turn this in multiple times. I don't know exactly what steps it took to be able to spam turn this thing in, but
it got fixed.
How that worked, yeah,
it got fixed now. So it's available again for you to be able to get and turn in. So after you do all of that, then you turn your Raiding the Core quest again, scales back out of mobile. You want to do this as late as possible.
Yeah, and then that's about. Oh, and then we get to the rares.
And then we put rares.
Yeah, so rares are the weirdest part about all this. There are rares all over the Dragon Isles. You could get a add-on like I think Rare Scanner to ping you when you're flying over one. Which is helpful because they don't all show up on the map the same way.
Correct.
And these rares drop fairly high itemable gear if they scale off your bag eye level as well. Unfortunately, that gear is not guaranteed to be your character usable gear. So you're like 25% of the gear you get is going to be cloth, 25% is going to be leather, 25% is going to be mail, 25% is going to be plate.
Warglaive. I mean, you get they are global loot tables, and you get a random chance, and these are not tradable pieces.
Yeah, so it is going to be quite slow on that end, but the item level is high, and so getting in what I've been doing at least is getting into a group of 5, and we've just kind of been flying around, and then somebody types rare in the chat, and then we all converge there and kill the rare. And
I'm in full raid groups. Like I'm in a full raid group flying around doing it like that. But again, you do this last because it's non-class /spec specific loot, and then it's like on like a global loot table, so it's like a massive pain to farm realistically, and it's like not that much item level going to be gained from this. You're getting, I don't know, 0.1 item level per slot or something like that, even for every single piece you can equip. In addition to this, there are leveling rares that you may have killed that have a accelerated respawn time. These are one-time kill rares. They don't drop loot the second or third time you kill them, and so you're gonna have to figure out which ancient hornswoggle was the leveling rare and not kill that anymore, because it's not gonna drop you any more loot.
Wow, what a cool and easy to understand system.
The system is just, I mean, that's the reason I want to make the video about this today. It's just so convoluted. It doesn't make much sense. I think that, like, if I literally was not sitting in Discord with my guild for 10 hours a day or whatever, just kind of like trying to figure out how this stuff worked, I do not even know if I would have the ability to be able to figure out how a lot of this loot shenanigans has played out.
Yeah, it is pretty counterintuitive. I mean, the fact that you're killing these rares and they're just dropping items that your character can't equip as well is very strange. It's
gear scales with your in-bag item level? Like, doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, I mean, that part, a lot of gear scales with in-bag item level. I think the main problem with it is just that in-bag item level is inflated, because last couple of expansions have had a lot of stuff that scales with in-bag item level, but because that you couldn't like juice your in-bag item level and have it randomly be 30 item levels higher, it just wasn't ever relevant.
Yeah.
But this season, it is relevant because you're able to get that gear up higher. So, yeah.
All right. I think that's going to be it for us in the hopefully a little bit rapid 16 minutes. Somehow we can get this down to 16 minutes. So this is basically how you gear on the Dragonflight for the first 2 weeks. I mean, again, most of this not mandatory. If there's anything that's mandatory, I'd recommend doing your M0s to try to get some gear. A lot of this gear can be replaced rather quickly once the raid and M Plus comes out.
Yeah.
Don't feel super obligated, especially the stuff with like farming rares and stuff like that. Don't do that. That's dumb. Like that's a big time thing.
Yeah, that's like if you're literally on a main character and you've got nothing else to do and you want to get some more gear, that is a way to do it, but it is not it's not a good way. It's not better than like doing whatever else you want to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Level your professions, level another character, do something else. All right, cool.
Yeah.
That's going to be it for us today. Hope you guys all have a great rest of your week, and we will see you guys next week. Goodbye.
GN.